I now call the meeting to order. Item 1, confirmation of minutes of our previous meeting. The one held on the 10th of October. The minutes have been circulated to members. We have not received any comments from members. Let's take them to be confirmed. Item 2, information papers issued since the last regular meeting held on the 22nd of July 2013. They are all here. Item 3, items for discussion at the next meeting. The Secretariat has already tabled a list before members. That's the list of outstanding items for discussion. Some of these have been proposed by the Bureau, and some actually are from the Transport and Housing Bureau. Secretary, yes, at the next regular meeting, the Transport and Housing Bureau would like to create some posts at the DFJ and also the Marine Department, and also is about the training fund for marine traffic and also air traffic, and also follow-up work with regard to the Lamma Island vessel collision incident. So it's about the priorities to be given to these issues. Yes, I'd like to listen to members' comments because, well, as chairman of the panel, if the administration, all right, these are items being proposed by the administration. Now, all of a sudden, they're proposing 4, so A, B, C, D. And we're actually talking about the interim review for the 2 power companies. So within 2 hours, I don't think we will be able to cover that many. And as chairman of the panel, I don't want the administration to just throw out 4 items which have to do with transport and housing. All right, I think it's for the administration to coordinate within itself as to which issues should be submitted to this panel for discussion, instead of putting 4 items in one go for a month and then without any items for another month. For example, on this occasion, the administration has no proposal at all. That's why we have decided to discuss issues in relation to the Disneyland. So I think for the 4 items proposed by the administration, I think they should pick 3 out of the 4. So even if we were to increase the duration by half an hour, even if we were to start a little earlier, we still won't be able to cover everything. Dr. Fernando Cheung, I fully agree with what you said, because it's not possible for us to cover 4 items in one meeting. Well, for the interim review for the 2 power companies, I suggest that we should have a dedicated meeting for that, because it's going to affect the entire territory, everybody. And because we're talking about very long-term contracts for the 2 power companies, that's why for this, I think we should have a special dedicated meeting for that. All right, Dr. Fernando Cheung is suggesting that we should have a dedicated meeting on the interim review for the 2 power companies. Well, once again, I'd like to state that I don't particularly favor special meetings unless it's absolutely necessary. I would rather the administration reschedule with items so that every month we have something to discuss, instead of having us identify items for discussion like today, and then at the next meeting they're proposing 4. Is just to convenience them so that they would all come together without having to come again on future occasions. All right. For the first 3 items, members may have many questions because they are very specific. It's about the establishment of a maritime and aviation training fund. But then for the 2 power companies, actually it's an interim review, and the impact could be very far-reaching and long-standing. So by then, even for us, we may no longer be members. So with regard to the interim review for the 2 power companies, well, it's not legally binding. But then, do members agree that we should have a special meeting for that? Mr. Frankie Yik, I agree. Unless it's absolutely necessary, I don't think we should schedule special meeting. Unless the administration is proposing too many items, I think we should have enough time for that. All right? Any further comments? All right, I'll ask the secretary to take it up with the administration if they really want to go for the first 3 items for the that I just read out, then by all means. But then for the other one, I think, well, before the December regular meeting, we can have a special meeting just on the interim review for the two power companies. But then this is just an exception. It should not be treated as a norm. I think the administration should not expect us to convene special meeting on every time. Dr. Fernando Jiang, on the interim review for the two power companies, I suggest that we should hold a public hearing because some green groups and also some interested parties might also wish to talk to us. So I suggest that at a special meeting, we should also have a part dedicated to a public hearing. Dr. Fernando Jiang, in that case, then we will that will be a very lengthy meeting requiring many people to attend. I think it might be better for us to first discuss with the two power companies and the administration, because at public hearings, when there are so many deputations, then members might end up not being able to speak their mind. And well, at the first meeting, we might wish to put questions to the two power companies and also the administration. I think it's better for all sides to have more chances to talk to one another. If we have too many people around, then it might be difficult for us to have any in-depth discussions. In fact, even for this panel, we already have more than a dozen members. I think the administration should know very well what we're interested in, and then we'll decide whether or not we're going to hold another special hearing after that. Is that okay? Well, yes, says Dr. Jiang. All right, so we'll have a special meeting for the two power companies, and then we'll ask the administration to pick 3 out of the 4 that they are proposing for the next meeting. Okay, so let's invite the administration team and the Disneyland team to join us. Yes, Commissioner and representative from Disneyland, welcome to the meeting. Thank you for briefing us on the latest development of the HKDL. And I'm sure even for members of the Hong Kong community, they would also like to know what's happening. Yes, Commissioner, over to you. Thank you. Good morning, Chairman. This is the first time that I am attending the panel meeting in this new electrical session, and I do look forward to further cooperation with this panel during the year. This is the update on the development of the Hong Kong Disneyland. We have submitted a paper on the latest development of the HKDL. Indeed, in recent, well, since its opening in 2005, the HKDL has already received some 45 million visitor trips, and if you look at the number of visitors and also its turnover, I think there have been continuous improvement. And last year, 2012, we have seen the first record of surplus, and we hope that it will continue to scale new heights by making further successes. And there'll be a plan for further expansion in the Disneyland, and as the HKDL just announced, they are going to engage in another stage of expansion, and that's going to be theme on Iron Man, and at the same time it's also planning on the third hotel's development. And through this series of expansion program, the HKDL will continue to be attractive to visitors, and we hope that by early next year we'll be able to come back to this panel again to report on the latest financial performance of the Disneyland. And Chairman, with your permission, I'll defer to the Disneyland representatives to brief you on the latest expansion program. Yes, we're going to have our discussion until 11:45. That's why I hope that you'll be brief. Please don't spend too much time on it. So, Anthony or Andrew, how much time would you need? I think 5 minutes will be enough. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members, for sparing the time to listen to our briefing. It's an update on the latest developments, and on the first page, I don't think I need too much time because just now, as the Commissioner just briefed you, during the past few years, our performance has been improving, and last year is the first year that we have had a record high of visitors, and it's the first time that we have recorded profit. And in May this year, we have also commissioned the latest facility that's called Mystic Point, and it's been highly successful. And we expect that in 2013, we're going to have a good result. In fact, later on, in around January, February, after all our financial reports have been audited, we'll be coming back to this panel to report to you again on our performance. So I'll be giving you all the details later. In the future development, in fact, there are several strategic considerations. Number one, we have to make the best use of what's remaining in the Disneyland in terms of land resources. In particular, we don't have too much land left. That's why we have to make the best use of it.
As to how we can make the best use of the land inside the park, now we need to increase the park's capacity. And so with regard to land planning and land use, we hope to achieve this objective. Then there are some technical considerations in terms of our operation. Now, the recent expansion took place in the southern part of the park, and so concerning the southern part of the park, at the moment the capacity is considerable. But then we will also need to achieve more even guest distribution, and we also need to enhance the park's appeal and competitiveness. And then concerning the theme of the Iron Man, over 2 years ago, we decided, we started to choose the site and the theme, and we've chosen Marvel's Iron Man. And the Hong Kong Disneyland is going to be the first Disney park in the world to feature Iron Man. And so to Hong Kong Disneyland, this is a new experience, and also the story of the ride will be set right here in Hong Kong, and I will be telling you more about the story. I want to tell you that the story will be set in Hong Kong, and this is the first time we have this ride set in Hong Kong. And now I will show you a video on the content.
Daigaho! I'm Joanne Cicero, Creative Executive for Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. Today I'm excited to tell you about the next major project coming to Hong Kong Disneyland, the Iron Man experience at Stark Expo. This is a completely original concept and something we've never done before at any other Disney theme park. Not only is this experience being designed for Hong Kong Disneyland, the story behind it is in Hong Kong. For those of you familiar with the hugely popular Iron Man films, you may recall hearing about Stark Expo, where great minds from all over the world get together to develop new things for the future of mankind. Well, we're pleased to share that Tony Stark is bringing a version of the Stark Expo directly to Hong Kong Disneyland. We know the guests of Hong Kong Disney are going to love the local aspects of this attraction. Guests entering this new themed area will be greeted by futuristic architecture and a giant screen with images of Iron Man on it. Inside the expo is the Iron Man experience, an amazing motion-based simulator attraction, and an opportunity to meet none other than Iron Man himself. Wow! The Iron Man experience is the first Disney attraction to be themed completely around a Marvel character. On this unique attraction, you'll ride in a vehicle designed by Tony Stark himself that's powered by the same technology behind the Iron Man armor. You'll take off with Iron Man as he soars over the beautiful Hong Kong skyline and fight at his side as he battles the forces of evil that challenge him. It'll be a thrill you won't soon forget. We've been collaborating with Kevin Feige and his team at Marvel Studios, and it's been fantastic. We couldn't ask for better partners than Marvel's own head of production and many of his creative directors that brought us the epic Iron Man and the Avengers films. An adventure is in the making that only Disney could bring you. I can't wait to share more details about the Iron Man experience, and we're all looking forward to bringing this new attraction to Hong Kong Disneyland in late 2016. I mean, seriously, who wouldn't want to go on the adventure of a lifetime with Iron Man?
So as you can see, the ride will be a 3D simulator flight experience. And so our guests and the Iron Man will, in Hong Kong, battle the forces of evil together. And there will also be the display of the Iron Man suits of armor. There will be an area for meet and greet with Iron Man, and finally there will be a merchandise area selling Marvel Heroes items. So finally, Chairman, in order to increase our competitiveness, we need to increase the number of attractions and facilities, and we are exploring the idea of a new themed hotel option with the government, and we are also continuously planning for new facilities in the coming years. For example, next year we're going to have a new night parade, and we hope that and also in 2015 we're going to celebrate our 10th anniversary, and so we are busily planning for all these. That's all I want to say. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Members, comments and questions now. Please raise your hands. Fernando Zhang, Albert Chan, UC Wing, Paul Che, and also Chen Hangpan. Anyone else? All right. 4 minutes for each member, including answers. Mr. Fernando Zhang. Yes, thank you. I want to congratulate Hong Kong Disneyland. They finally recorded net profits. We of course hope that the Disneyland, the theme park, can generate economic effectiveness. But I want to say that Hong Kong people have invested over $20 billion into the project, and I haven't taken into account the land cost, and so it really takes a long time to really recover all the costs. This is a huge investment, and we've just begun to see a net profit. So it's good that you are beginning to make a profit, but please treat your staff well. I want to know whether the issue of the lunch break allowance has been resolved. Now the staff hope that the staff can be remunerated for their lunch hour. And then I understand that Disneyland has made some effort to promote the employment of the disabled, and I think it's a good thing that you are doing. I understand that the number of trainees has been increased from 20 to 30. This is a good thing again, but still I think this quota or number is very limited. you have a total of 5,000 or 6,000 posts. Some can be taken up by the disabled, some can't. And you are telling us that for the posts that can be taken up by the disabled, about over 3% of these posts are now being taken up by the disabled. I want to know how you define posts which are suitable for the disabled and posts which are not suitable for the disabled. In fact, you know, there are different types of disabilities, and people with different disabilities are suitable for different work types. So I think you should calculate on the basis of the total number of posts or the total number of staff members, and I hope that you can expand this quota further. Andrew, I understand that you are here to report to us the latest progress with regard to the development of the Hong Kong Disneyland, but then we can, at this meeting, members can ask any question about Disneyland. And, you know, as you know, Mr. Fernando Cheung is very concerned about this matter. Now, Chairman, in fact, this issue is in the paper. Sorry, I've only read the brief part. Yes, I thank Mr. Cheung for the question. In fact, we're very concerned about the employment of the disabled. We have been doing our best, and the member is correct in saying that in fact we have a few hundred staff members who are disabled, and as the member has pointed out, every year we recruit 30 disabled persons under our apprentice scheme or apprenticeship scheme, and then after the completion of the scheme they may stay behind to work if they are found suitable. In deciding which jobs are suitable for the disabled, we need to first of all take into account operational safety. As you know, in our theme park, we have a lot of thematic rides. And so the safety of our staff and the safety of the visitors are our primary concern. So this is the first and foremost criterion. And then second, we understand that for our disabled employees, they have certain preferences concerning working time, and so in doing labor planning we need to take into account what time slots are suitable for them, and then based on these factors we decide which posts are suitable for them and not which are not. And what about paid meal breaks? Yes, as the member is well aware, we are a big organization and we are concerned about the welfare of our staff. Every year we provide a reasonably good pay adjustment for our staff. Now, because of time constraint, please concentrate on the paid meal breaks. Now, if the government legislate for paid meal breaks, we will implement the policy immediately. Mr. Albert Chan, now I want to ask about the cost estimate for new plans for the future. Chairman, I understand that the company does have a budget or an estimate for the entire theme park, but then I think you should have an estimate for a particular theme area. For example, the benefits, the period for cost recovery, and so on and so forth. And after all, we're talking about taxpayers' money, and so I think such assessments are necessary. And also, we need to assess the investment benefits and effectiveness of a particular theme area. As you know, sometimes a particular investment may be an investment disaster, or it may bring huge benefits. So 1 + 1 may not always equal to. So I think taxpayers want to know where the money will go and the estimated benefits. And then second, I understand that Disneyland is an imported concept, so to speak, and taxpayers' money, of course, have been exported to the U.S. So the theme park was established about a decade ago, and Disneyland is known for its ability to innovate. So how can we promote Hong Kong's innovative industries when we collaborate with Walt Disney Company in the U.S.? So how can such cooperation and collaboration promote and consolidate the creative industries in Hong Kong? Now, for example, will Walt Disney join hands with Hong Kong so that for cartoons, for films, Hong Kong can play a bigger part? We hope that Hong Kong will not just be giving, we hope also to be getting something back in return. Right? Perhaps the Commissioner can answer this question. Yes, the members asked two questions. First of all, the budget, and second, innovation. I will give a brief reply, and then Mr. Kam can supplement. Now, concerning this new theme area, Stark Expo, the construction cost will be funded by the operating profit of the Disneyland. So in other words, neither of the shareholders need to provide funding support for Stark Expo.
And of course, in building the new themed area, overall speaking, we are trying to increase the attractiveness of the Disneyland so that there will be further growth to the visitor number, so that that would also benefit the tourism sector in the long run. As regards how we can well treat the staff, in particular local staff and also locals, the role that they can play, I'll defer to Mr. Kam. I'm not talking about management, Chairman. So please talk at cross purposes whenever I put a question to you. Well, I think member suggestion is very good. Indeed, during the last expansion plan, we have already engaged local innovation talents to join us, and on this occasion for the Iron Man experience, we also have local staff responsible for the design work, and in this regard we will continue to work hard so that for the Hong Kong Disneyland there'll be more Hong Kong people's innovation in it. So for the next point, can they provide something in writing? Yes. All right. We don't have many members in the queue, so we'll have to wrap up by 11:40. We have UC Wing, Chen Hang Pan, and Sin Chung Kai. So I'll draw a line there. UC Wing, thank you. 4 minutes, please. So please do give them a bit more time to answer your questions. Chairman, I think the success of the HKDL is very important to the tourism sector in Hong Kong. That's why we hope that the HKDL will consider further expansion and innovation. But then by the end of 2015, the Shanghai Disneyland will be completed. And if you look at the mainland visitors to the HKDL, they are accounting for the largest proportion of visitor numbers, and of course there will be new theme areas coming on stream, and the old ones will of course continue. But then if you look at the advantage of the HKDL, what facilities are unique in Hong Kong where the Shanghai Disneyland doesn't have, and according to Mr. Kam just now, well, there isn't that much land left, and with the new hotel commissioning and also the new theme areas coming on stream. But then if you look at the entire site, is rather big. So would the administration consider this? Other than the existing land, would the administration be granting more land to the HKDL in order to maintain its competitive edge in the region? Commissioner? Thank you, Chairman. I'll attempt to answer the question, and then I'll ask Mr. Kem to supplement with regard to the comparison between the Shanghai Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland. As we said at the introduction, with the new expansion area and the new hotel, they are the new plans for the coming years, and the main purpose is to maintain the HKDL's attractiveness to visitors in the region. Other than expanding the theme park, well, the Hong Kong Disneyland is also working on two fronts. Number one, it has to maintain its remarkable services to the visitors, and it's also doing a lot of publicity and promotion work in order to stabilize the visitor number, because we are expecting that in other places, including Shanghai, with new theme parks coming on stream, we are going to face more competition. And also, if you look at the site of the Disneyland, what we have to do right now is to make sure that for the land that is left from stage 1, it can be made the best use of, so that for every inch of land, it will be made the best use of in order to increase the efficiency and also the attractiveness of the HKDL. We do have a stage 2 site available, is already available, and of course the objective is to improve on stage 1, including the coming on stream of the new hotel and also the expansion of the theme area. But we are still exchanging views with the HKDL. After the completion of these different expansion programs, we will continue further plans. We would be following up with the HKDL. Yes, Mr. Kem. Yes, thank you, Chairman. In order to maintain the competitive edge of the HKDL, number one, we have to enhance our service, and number two, hardware is also very important. That's why, as you can see, for the Ironman experience, well, it's going to be the first in the world, and it's also rather unique in the region. So it's a unique experience in the region. And last time, in the course of our expansion, we had the Grizzly Gulch and also the Mystic Point. They are very special theme areas which are unique in the world. That's why through designing special attractions and also for the Ironman on this occasion, we have specifically used Hong Kong as the theme where the story will be set against. So you can see that we've been very positive in identifying different ways to increase the attractiveness of the Hong Kong Disneyland, so that Hong Kong Disneyland will be somewhat different from the other Disneyland in the world. Mr. Yu, I hope that the HKDL will make sure that Hong Kong will be unique in terms of its products and also facilities, or else if we have what Hong Kong has, then why do they have to be bothered to come to Hong Kong? Because they don't have to cross a boundary at all if they go to Shanghai. Please note that. Next, Mr. Paul Chairman, with regard to the latest Ironman and also Stark Expo, according to our understanding, is going to be located in the northern part of the theme park. So I'd like to know what has it been used for in the past. So is it new land being identified, or is it going to be replaced so that some of the existing facilities will have to be relocated? And the HKDL has been asking for more transport arrangements. So how about the pier that it has been asking for? I understand that there has been an impasse in this, because the administration has not been able to agree on the proposal by the HKDL. And also with regard to the forecast or projected visitor number, looking at page 3 of the Secretariat's paper, there's a table. Initially, you expect that only by 2044 you'll be able to have about 10 million visitors. But then if you look at the actual number, by 2011 we're actually having some 30 million. So the growth has been somewhat faster than expected. So in terms of the projected receipt or revenue, would you have some new thinking? 3 questions altogether. All right, where has the land come from? Commissioner, with regard to the Ironman experience, I'll ask Mr. Kem to explain. With regard to transport arrangement, well, the honourable member just referred to the pier. In fact, it's located within the closed area of the airport. It's for transit passengers, so that they can use the ferry to go to the airport. So in the past, there was a suggestion that the pier should be open as a border control point so that visitors will be able to exit there and then visit other attractions in Lantau. It's been discussed on several occasions in this council, and there have also been oral questions raised by members at council meetings. But then we have no plan to open up that pier so that that could become a proper border control point. And also in the next few years, with the commissioning of the Hong Kong-Macau-Zhuhai Bridge, there might also be a new border checkpoint, and that will also facilitate visitors from the Pearl River Delta West Coast to Macau, to Lantau, and we'll be talking to the HKDL as to what needs to be done after the commissioning of the bridge with regard to the facilities or transport arrangement for the HKDL and how it could also attract people from this part of the region. So we're working with Mr. Kam and his team to see how we can make the best use of the Hong Kong-Macau-Zhuhai Bridge commissioning so that opportunities could also be brought to the HKDL. With regard to how we can attract more visitors, of course, we are glad to see that during the past few years, the performance of the HKDL has improved very significantly. We hope that that momentum can continue. And for your information, actually, if you look at the HKDL, since its opening to 2012, in fact, it has already brought in about some 38 billion economic benefit in terms of GDP. And as a result, because of more visitors coming to Hong Kong and spending more, that has already brought in about 110,000 posts or jobs have been created. We hope that that momentum can also continue, and we'll be working very hard with the HKDL to make sure that it will continue. Mr. Kam? Yes, on the land is a vacant site, and it's located near the Tomorrowland, in between the Autopia and also the Buzz Lightyears. So it's located right in between the two attractions, and this site has not been developed, and we're planning to develop that site in the next stage. Yes, Chen Hang-Pen. Thank you, Chairman. Well, according to the Commissioner, he said that he hoped that the momentum could continue, and of course we also want that to happen. But then with the commissioning of the Disneyland in Shanghai, we are indeed rather worried. How are we going to ensure that this advantage can continue? Yes, we do enjoy some uniqueness, and we hope that in the future we can be given more information as to how unique we are, and then we'll be able to make the comparison ourselves. Well, I understand that, well, in the past you did have some projections, and well, you're going to build this Marvel Land, so a new theme park will be built. But then in fact in Tomorrowland you're going to have this new Iron Man game. So I think some fans of Marvel will be disappointed. So if you're going to commission new theme areas, so are you going to put in the heroes of Marvel there, or are you going to scatter them around like the Iron Man, and then for the other heroes they'll be scattered around in the other area? Or are you so what are you going to do? Mr. Kam, thank you for the question. Well, definitely after we have done our planning, we'll be sharing this with you so that you'll be able to see that the HKDL does have an edge in many areas. We're going to do that. And also you refer to the theme of Marvel. On this occasion, actually we have gone through a very lengthy process in identifying what needs to be put in where. So in the end, we decided to come up with this theme of Iron Man. In fact, we have done some surveys. In fact, out of the characters in Marvel, in fact, there are some 2,000 figures or characters, and the most popular is Iron Man. And as you can see, in fact, during the past few years, if you look at the movie of Iron Man, it's been a box office hit. That's why we like to tap on the phenomenon of Iron Man. That's why in the end we have chosen Iron Man of Marvel as the theme or as the protagonist of this theme area as to what characters will be chosen for future theme areas. In fact, Disneyland has a lot of heroes and so on. Well, to just put on some advertisements other than Marvel, we have also taken over Avatar. It's also a very popular film, and we are going to have Avatar 2 shortly. And this year we have just brought in Star Wars, and they're going to launch its 7th film under Disneyland. So we do have many popular and box office hit themes, and we'll try to see what we can do with these themes so that they can all bring in some benefit for the Hong Kong Disneyland. Mr. Chen, well, I'd like to know this. Maybe the Commissioner might be able to help. That is how we're going to maintain our competitive edge, because the administration also has a role to play. How are we going to compete with Shanghai? Will they be submitting a report to us? Commissioner? Well, in terms of the competitive edge of the HKDL, as we just said, we're going to have new facilities coming on stream. We're going to offer new programs and new attractions. And many of these attractions are unique. But then they are not going to be newer than Shanghai. But then for Iron Man, it's unique to Hong Kong. It's the first time that has ever been launched in Hong Kong. And we are also going to step up publicity on the mainland, so that with the future development in the HKDL, we'll be able to develop side-by-side other theme parks in the region. All right, we have to be unique, or else why do they have to come to Hong Kong? Yes, Mr. Chung Kwok-pan, yes, many members are concerned about possible competition with Shanghai. And also, in the paper, you talk about a series of considerations. We have A, B, C, D consideration. That's in the Secretariat's background paper. So I'd like to look at this. All right, we have to expand the capacity of the Disneyland, and they also have to have a high quality of experience, and we have to enhance our competitiveness. I think these are things that we can do in order to compete with Shanghai. But then Hong Kong's construction cost is very high with the commissioning of these new theme areas. I think we also need to look at the cost.
Hi. Andrew. Yes, Chairman, thank you. I thank the member for the question. Now, of course, the Iron Man is going to be a brand new theme, and it's definitely going to increase the theme park's competitiveness. And then concerning our overall competitiveness, as I've said, we need to increase our capacity, and also the quality of our service is also our advantage. I want to say that in many areas of our service, we really are a leader. For example, we provide a bilingual and service, and also we have visitors from the mainland and also from many countries in Southeast Asia. And in fact, for our catering service, 2 years ago we started launching the halal venue. And with regard to the Mystic Point, there is the Explorer Club restaurant, which also provides Islamic food. So you can see that in fact these features do cater for the demands of visitors from Southeast Asia. So you can see that we are continuously trying to upgrade our service to our visitors. And what about our competitiveness in terms of the very high construction and development cost? Andrew, yes, this is really a headache when you talk about construction costs. So when we look at a particular new development, we need to anticipate the future increase in construction costs. Yes, there is a lot of pressure on us with regard to construction cost, and according to our internal discussions, The construction cost for our, in Hong Kong Disneyland is 15% higher than that for our California Disneyland, and 30% higher than that for the Florida Disneyland. So we need to try to achieve cost savings. We do pay a lot of attention to areas where we can reduce costs, and also will the emission fee be increased in the near future? Or emission fee? We need to take into account the emission fees of similar theme parks in the region. We also need to take into account the demands of the visitors. So it seems that he hasn't really answered your question. Mr. Sin Chong Kai. Now, there were new themed areas commissioned one by one. Mystic Point has been commissioned, and it's good that there will be a Stark Expo. Last week in this council, we had a motion debate on the development of tourism. Members agreed that we needed new attractions. In 1998, when there was reclamation, a lot of land was produced, and only about half has been developed. So what's going to take place on the remaining half of the site? Disneyland. There are 2 Disneylands in California, and then phase 1, phase 2, I remember, and then there are 2 in Japan, and then there are 4 or 5 Disneylands in Florida. So in 1998, there was phase 2, and the government said that when necessary, Disneyland could have priority in developing the site, and if Disneyland was not interested, then the government might invite other parties to develop the reclaimed land. Right, so we understand that you're going to develop Marvel's Stark Expo. Now, in fact, that piece of land is very big, and we can accommodate a Universal Studio or other things. So now we have the land, we need the capacity, we don't have enough attractions in Hong Kong. So is it that we should now consider developing that very big site produced by reclamation? Philip. Yes, I thank the member for the comment and the question. Yes, this is a very important issue because this is going to affect the long-term planning and development of Disneyland. Now, with regard to Stark Expo and the 3rd themed hotel, we're talking about making the best use of the land under phase 1 so that the theme park can become more attractive. It can provide a more enjoyable experience for visitors. Concerning phase 2 of the reclaimed site, in fact, I have already said that while we try to maximize the use of land in phase 1, we need to start discussions with Walt Disney concerning how the phase 2 land should be used. So we're going to explore with the company whether it has any plans for the phase 2 site. Of course, the ultimate objective is to make sure that the capacity of the theme park can be increased so that we can receive more visitors, so that we can become a premier theme park in the region. Mr. Sin Chong Kai. So can you give us a timetable? Now, because this year we had 52 million, 53 million visitors, and some people say that not too long in the future, the number will reach $80 million. So I think you must start a discussion and start action, because I know you have to get the workers, you have to carry out the works, and it's going to take at least a few years. Yes, Chairman, I understand that we need to provide the necessary facilities in time so as to meet the future demand of our visitors. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. I think time's up, and I thank government officials for attending. And now we will move on to the next item on the agenda, the impact on the tourism sector in Hong Kong of the tourism law of the PRC. So I thank Andrew for coming, and I understand that Philip will be staying for this item. Members, while we are waiting for the officials to come in, I want to apologize to members. I need to leave at 12:30, and the Deputy Chairman, Mr. Jeffrey Lam, is not present. And the next member on the President's list is Mr. Paul Chair. So can you please chair the meeting for 15 minutes for me from 12:30 to 12:45?
係，我哋進入呢個議程嘅討論時間。
All right. So I would like to thank Mr. Michael Wu and Mr. Joseph Tong, and we'd like to discuss the impact on the tourism sector in Hong Kong of the tourism law of the PRC, and we are concerned about the impact on our tourist guides and also the so-called zero negative fare tours and so on and so forth. Philip, the tourism law was implemented on the 1st of October in 2013. Of course, the tourism sector will be affected. Now, inbound tours from the mainland account for 10% of our tours, and also the mainland is the main source of our visitors, and so the tourism law does have an impact on Hong Kong. Now, in fact, the tourism law was implemented in the mainland only less than a month ago, and so it's difficult for us to draw conclusions with regard to the long-term impact of the tourism law on the tourism sector in Hong Kong. But then we've given members some of our preliminary observations after the National Day Golden Week. Now, according to the figures, during that period, there were on the average 191 mainland inbound tour groups, a decrease of 44% as compared with last year's National Day Golden Week. And tour groups with shopping itineraries dropped very significantly during this period. Now, according to the TIC, the number of complaints received during the period was only 2. So we can see that initially, concerning curbing the business mode of over-reliance on commission, and also undesirable modes of operation like zero or negative fare groups, I think we can see the effect. And then we have seen more groups with no shopping itineraries, and we can see that in fact agents have adjusted their modes of operation. We need, of course, to continue to monitor the situation and the development. I understand that with the decrease in the number of inbound tour groups from the mainland, some in the tourism sector are worried that frontline staff may be affected, in particular local tourist guides. Some are concerned about the livelihood of these local tourist guides. In fact, in the past few years, the TIC provided training courses and talks to help frontline staff acquire new skills so that they are able to switch to other work type within the trade when necessary, and will continue to provide such courses which can enhance the competitiveness of our frontline practitioners. And also, now the tourism law will affect the mainland and Hong Kong, and it's also important in terms of the long-term development of the tourism sector in Hong Kong. And so with regard to our observations and the figures we've already reflected these figures to the China National Tourism Administration (CNTA) and the Shenzhen Municipal Bureau of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and will continue to maintain close liaison with the CNTA and the Shenzhen Bureau of Culture, Sport and Tourism. Thank you. All right, Mr. Wu, do you wish to supplement, or can I ask how many members would like to ask questions? Liu Si Wing, Chong Hua Fong, Albert Chan. In fact, Albert Chan was the first to raise his hand, and then Liu Si Wing and Chong Hua Fong. All right, so it seems that we have sufficient time for the discussion. All right, Mr. Wu, do you have anything to add? No? Mr. Albert Chan then? Chairman, I want to say that I do not really know the full implications of the tourism law to the tourism sector in Hong Kong. But as far as I understand, two types of people will be affected by the tourism law. First of all, the authorized agents in the mainland, and second, the receiving agents. So we have reception agents in Hong Kong, and then there are also other related organizations. For example, shops which are selling gold items or other items which provide rebates to the travel agents or to the tourist guides. So I just want to know which organizations in Hong Kong will be affected by the tourism law. And what if they are found to have breached the tourism law? What action will the government or the TIC take?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for your question. All right, the tourism law is a piece of mainland legislation, and therefore it's supposed to regulate the tourism sector on the mainland. But then there are some articles in relation to the mainland inbound tour groups in Hong Kong. There might be some impact, and that's Article 35. In fact, in paragraph 3 of the paper, we have already set that out in detail, and Article 35 provides that travel agencies on the mainland are prohibited from organizing tourism activities and luring tourists with unreasonably low prices or getting illegitimate gains such as rebates by arranging shopping or providing tourism services that require additional payment. However, it does not include circumstances where both sides have agreed or the tourists have requested for such arrangements and no influence is caused on the itinerary of other tourists. In fact, for mainland and Hong Kong operators participating in organizing such tours, they will be affected. And this article, as far as we understand it, is aimed at the so-called zero tour fee and also the compelling shopping tours. For taking the National Day Golden Week as an example, the TIC also monitor the situation with regard to Hong Kong receiving travel agencies as to how or what they do, because they also have to account to the TIC as regards the itinerary for such inbound tours. And if the TIC notices that there are shopping activities included in the itineraries, then the TIC will be looking at such shopping itineraries and also the list of the travel agencies, and this will be passed on to the Shenzhen tourism authorities, and the Shenzhen authorities will be looking into it to see if they've already got the consent of the tourists participating in such tour groups. And if there is any violation of this article, then the mainland authorities will take follow-up action. So we'll continue to monitor this. So how about the penalties? So will the TIC be reporting this to the Shenzhen authorities, and then if it's found out that the local agency is a Hong Kong agency, so what's going to happen to them? So will they be arrested upon entry to Shenzhen? Because in Hong Kong, we understand that there is one-stop service, because part of that will be on the mainland and part of it will be in Hong Kong. So for the tourism law, it regulates travel agencies on the mainland, but how about the Hong Kong counterparts? Well, the tourism law regulates the mainland inbound tour groups, and if it's found that the organizing travel agency has committed or has violated that, then of course they will be punished. But then the TIC would also be looking at the receiving end in Hong Kong. That is, have they violated the guidelines of the TIC? And if they have, then the TIC would also be taking action against them. So what about the example that I just cited? All right, if it's a Hong Kong-run travel agency, and if it's found and confirmed that they have violated the tourism law, then what's going to happen to them? Well, so will you be prosecuting them? Well, it's been less than a month since the tourism law has come into effect, and we've already informed the mainland authorities about what's happening, and they are still taking follow-up action. And for the next step, we'll be taking that up with the mainland authorities. We'll try to understand more from them. Yes? All right. So if the TIC finds out something, then what are you going to do? Well, let me supplement. In fact, for all the licensed agencies, they will be bound by the TIC guidelines, and if they go to the shopping facilities, and if they compel the group members to do shopping, then of course they'll be violating our guideline. But then we have made it very specific. That is, when they sign the contract with the organizing travel agency, then everything will have to go by the promised itinerary agreed upon between the agency and the tour members. And if the tour members have already signed this contract with the travel agency on the mainland, that they agree to do shopping in Hong Kong, and if they have not violated this contract, or if they have not signed such an itinerary with their travel agencies, and if they have been taken to such a shopping facilities, then it means that they violated the rules, and then we will also be prosecuting them. We will also be passing on such details to the mainland regulatory authorities, so that they will be taking follow-up action against the organizing travel agencies. In fact, we've been working hand in hand, and that is also in line with the guideline of the TIC, and they will also be regulating their own travel agencies, and with the coordinated efforts, we hope that we can afford a better protection to mainland visitors. All right, thank you. It's a lot clearer. So for the local travel agencies, they'll be dealt with under the TIC. They'll be dealt with by the TIC. But then you will also be passing on the information to the main authorities. But then they have not answered my question. All right. What about Hong Kong agency committing violating the law? So will they be punished by the mainland authorities? All right, they've already told you. For local agencies, they'll be dealt with by the TIC, and according to what they just said, they'll be passing this on to the mainland authorities, and then for the mainland agencies, they'll be dealt with accordingly by the mainland authorities. Yes, Mr. Yu Si Wing. All right, the new tourism law has come into effect in October, and there has been a substantial drop in the number of such shopping tours. And I think the impact on the local tourism sector is positive. But then still, some practitioners from the tourism sector have been affected. So have you conducted any assessment on the impact of the tourism law on the local tourism sector, including travel agencies and also the shopping attractions, tour guides, and also hotels and so on? So for the medium to long-term impact, what kind of problems will be created? So will you be talking to the tourism sector as to what needs to be done? That's my first question. Second, well, with the coming into effect of the tourism law, there are fewer cheap tours, because in the past many visitors from the Pearl River Delta, they'll join such tours. But then after the introduction of this, alright, many of these visitors are very familiar with Hong Kong and they do not have to join such package tours. So there'll be more IVS visitors, and once again, we're going to have the same problems as we said last week. So for the more popular tourism attractions, there'll be more individual visitors, and they might also cause nuisance to the local residents. So will you be putting in place some arrangements to divert some of these visitors to other places from the more popular tourism spots? Commissioner, thank you for your question and thank you for your comment. All right, it's been less than a month since the coming into effect of the new law. We'll be monitoring closely how it operates, in particular the impact on the tourism sector and the mode of operation, and also whether there has been or will be any impact on the business opportunities for the sector. In the long run, we do welcome this tourism law, because in the long run, the tourism law will regulate the mainland tourism sector, and that will also help ensure a more healthy development. And given the close cooperation between us and our counterparts on the mainland, I think in the long run that should also be helpful to the local tourism sector. And just now, the honourable member also referred to some impacts on the local tourism sector at the shopping destinations and also the hotel industry, as well as the tour guides and so on. I think we have already given some details in the paper. Let me reiterate this. That is, we are still not very sure about the impact of the tourism law on the local tourism sector. We'll maintain very good communication with the local sector, so that we'll see what kind of impact would that have on the receiving travel agencies in Hong Kong. Indeed, we will have to further develop such tourist attractions. On an earlier item, we also talk about the Disneyland, and also for the Ocean Park, they are also going to have another expansion plan for the next few years. So I think what Mr. Yu just said was very useful. That is how are we going to divert some of the visitors to the more popular tourist attractions, to the less busy areas, so that they can be spread more evenly amongst the various tourist attractions, and that will also help ease the congestion in the more popular areas. In different districts, we do have different tourist attractions that can be promoted amongst the visitors, and the tourism board has also been working on it. And in the other than the more conventional tourist attractions, we are actually promoting heritage tours and also country parks tours and so on. So these would be itineraries outside the conventional itineraries. We'll be working with the industry, hoping that we can work together to promote a more diversified tourism or experience for the visitors. Next, Mr. Christopher Chow. Thank you, Chairman. Well, the mainland has implemented this tourism law, and as a result, the local tourism sector has regained its order, and the number of complaints has also dropped significantly from 7 to 2. I think it's something good. And in Para 7, you also said that for those practitioners who might require help, you would also be offering more assistance to them. So for people who might have to switch to other jobs, how many are there, and what jobs are they working on? So will you be providing free training for them so that they can apply for them? So that's point number 1. And point number 2, what plans does the administration have to help the tourism sector to restructure itself, and also are there any major new plans so that they do not have to rely on shopping at certain designated points? So how are you going to maintain the attractiveness of the tourism sector instead of just relying on the 2 theme parks? Are there any better plans in place for the tourism board or commission to consider? Commissioner. is about the switching to other jobs and also the hardware in the tourism sector. So I'll try to focus on these two areas. Well, both ourselves and the TIC attach huge importance to the training of talents, and the ERB has also got this continuous training fund to help those practitioners from the tourism sector to undergo training in order to upgrade themselves and also to switch to other jobs if they want. For example, on MICE tours and also the new cruise terminals commissioning, so that there would be more cruise visitors, and we have also enhanced training in this respect. And also, as the honourable member said, we would also like to divert some of the tourists so that they would not just be going to the conventional tourist attractions. Actually, last Wednesday, we also had a debate on this, and also many valuable comments have been given by members on the long-term development of the sector, and we will be considering them. And as we have just said, apparently too many tourists are going to the two theme parks these days, and with the commissioning of the cruise terminal, we hope that there would be more room for the tourism sector to develop in a more diversified manner. Other than these attractions, actually in the itinerary, we hope that Hong Kong can promote or can provide a more enriched experience. In fact, the Tourism Commission has got some plans to subsidize the travel agencies, so that other than conventional attractions, we would also like to attract more tourists to the less visited tourist attractions. So that's also done under the new subsidy or subvention plan. We hope that they can have more new thinking, they can think out of the box, so that other than the more conventional popular spots, they can also include more interesting spots to attract the tourists, so that there can be some new ideas. So other than subsidizing the trade to consider these, we will also be working on it. We hope that we'll be able to increase the attractiveness of Hong Kong so that there can be more diversified attractions.
Mr. Zhang, no follow-up? Mr. Chong Kwok-pan, Mr. Paul Chair, and then Mr. Lam Tai Fai, that's the first round, and Mr. Yu Si Wing wants to ask further questions in the second round. It seems that we do have enough time today. Mr. Chong, 4 minutes. I want to ask about the impact on the practitioners, because for groups involving shopping itineraries, the percentage dropped from about 80% to only 35%, and some local tour guides who used to earn tens of thousands of dollars a month have said that they may have to change jobs. I want to know how many frontline practitioners will be affected, how many will have to switch to other jobs. And then concerning, it seems that there aren't too many work types within the trade for them to switch to. After all, as the Commissioner has pointed out, there aren't too many attractions in Hong Kong. We have about 6,000 tourist guides, Chairman, concerning the impact of the tourism law on tourist guides. Yes, initially some tourist guides did express some views or comments, but then we will need more time to monitor the number of mainland inbound tour groups visiting Hong Kong, and then as to whether there is less reliance on shopping at designated outlets or locations. We still need to monitor the situation. Now we hope that the cruise industry is going to inject new momentum into our local tourism industry. We hope that tourist guides can join training courses on cruise tourism, and also MICE. This is also a very important economic activity in Hong Kong, providing a lot of job opportunities for Hong Kong people. And if our frontline practitioners can acquire these skills, then they will get brighter prospects within the trade. And we will continue to work under the continuous training fund, and we hope that our various training institutions can provide more training courses for our frontline practitioners so that they can enhance their competitiveness and so that they can switch to other work types more easily within the trade when necessary. Michael. In fact, there are only 49 provinces and cities covered by the individual travel scheme. And for the residents of other cities and provinces, they have to join tours to Hong Kong. And in fact, many local people also like to join tours. So you can see that, in fact, for mainland visitors, if they come with their children and with their elderly parents, then they may prefer to join tour groups. And if we have these inbound tour groups, then we'll need tourist guides. So because of the increase in prices in the mainland concerning tours to Hong Kong, maybe the number of tours may drop in the near future. But we should monitor the situation, and also local tourist guides should understand that they should lead the visitors to get a feel of Hong Kong, to experience the Hong Kong culture and history, taking visitors to designated retail outlets to shop. It has never been the emphasis of the TIC or our training courses. Yes, Michael, you are correct. But then, as you know, our local tourist guides in the past only knew how to take people to designated retail outlets and to go shopping, and I think they really need to brush up their skills. Now, concerning the tourism law, it was implemented in October, and in fact it was published or announced in April. So during the 6 months from April to October this year, what did the TIC do to prepare our local tourism industry for the changes? Now, it's true that the tourism law has just been implemented, but then we have seen the impact on Hong Kong. So I want to ask the TIC the following concerning travel agents, frontline practitioners, hotels. How can they adapt to the decrease in income and the impact brought about by the tourism law? And then enforcement. I want to ask about enforcement. Now, Mr. Albert Chen has asked a related question, but I understand that if our law enforcement agencies have to work with the mainland authorities, they need to have certain arrangements, they need to undergo certain training. But then in Hong Kong, we do not have the so-called tourism corps. We are relying on the TIC, which is not a government organization. So how can you make sure that enforcement action can be effectively taken? Philip, yes, there are 3 questions. First of all, the NPC enacted the tourism law in April, and the member asked what we did to prepare the industry for the new law between April and October. Now, in fact, we liaised with the CNTA, and the CNTA did send its representatives to Hong Kong to explain the content of the tourism law to local travel agents and practitioners, and the arrangements were made by the TIC concerning how the local tourism sector can effectively adapt to the changes. I think we need to closely monitor the impact of the law on the number of inbound tour groups and also the mode of operation. And we will also need to keep the CNTA abreast of the impact of the tourism law on the local tourism sector. Then collaboration with the mainland. As you know, we at the mainland are very close partners in the development of tourism. During the National Day Golden Week, we monitored the situation. We reported the relevant figures to the CNTA and the Shenzhen Bureau of Culture, Sport and Tourism. And so concerning the number of tours, the changes in the mode of operation, we will keep the organizations in the mainland informed. And also we are most willing to reflect the views of the local tourism sector to the CNTA and to Shenzhen. And if the local tourism sector doesn't understand the tourism law and its implications fully, then again we can have the CNTA giving briefing sessions to the local tourism sector. I think the TIC can supplement now. Yes. Yes, Chairman. In fact, at the end of August, we are arranged for a senior official from the CNTA to come to Hong Kong to brief the local tourism sector on the tourism law. We arranged 2 briefing sessions, and over 170 travel agent representatives attended the briefings. And the mainland official clearly explained the tourism law to the travel agents, and also and the travel agents asked questions mainly in relation to the issue of shopping. Now, if the reception agent in Hong Kong has signed an agreement with a designated agent in the mainland on shopping arrangements, then that would not amount to a breach of the tourism law. In fact, the mainland authorities have said very clearly that if the visitors have been made fully aware of the arrangements, then that will not cause a problem. And also, we've discovered that there are still tour groups involving shopping itineraries, but of course the number has dropped. But we have someone in disguise in an inbound tour, and in fact that tour, or for that tour, it said that it would involve a shopping itinerary. But then when the tour was in Hong Kong, there were no arrangements for shopping. So there was no shopping element for that tour group ultimately. So concerning our members, we do try to give them as much information as possible. But then Hong Kong is a shopping paradise. Even if the tour groups do not involve shopping itineraries, people can just walk around and shop as much as they like. Mr. Lam Tai-Fai. Now, Chairman, I am not familiar with the operation of the local tourism sector. Now, the tourism law has come into effect, and according to my colleagues, according to the travel agents, we have fewer tourists coming, and some are worried that the retail industry, the hotel industry, and also the travel agents will be adversely affected. Their income will drop. So concerning it, so it seems that the zero fare or negative fare tour concept has its appeal. It has its market. But there were a lot of unhappy experiences in the past. People who came on zero or negative fare tours did want to come for shopping, but then there were undesirable practices like deception, coerced shopping. And so, in fact, as Mr. Tong has pointed out, there are some who want to come to Hong Kong to shop, and they want to cut down on expenses in respect of food and accommodation. Now, I believe visitors from Shanghai and Guangdong come on the individual visit scheme, but then there are some more remote areas, there are some poorer areas like Qinghai and Yinchuan, and they may not know how to they may want to join inbound, they may not want to join tour groups to Hong Kong, and they may want to buy goods with local characteristics, if not jewelry items. So it seems that there are people who like zero or negative fee tours, but it is just that there are some undesirable practices associated with zero negative fee tours, like coerced shopping or deception. So it seems that the black sheep have caused damage to others in the sector. So it's like the very demand management measures for our property market. There are people who want to buy flats, but then they have been adversely affected by these measures. So can we have say minimum fee tours, for example, covering the fees for a 2-star hotel, for a 3-star hotel, and also there should be tighter regulation. For example, only half a day should be allocated for shopping and no more. Now, Mr. Wu has said that some are saying that their business will suffer, they may lose their jobs, and Mr. Wu is saying that it takes time to really digest and absorb the changes. But then many people may become unemployed, and the hotels, the guest houses, they will suffer from a very drastic drop in business. So I think we should target practices like coerced shopping and deception. And then we can reinstate zero fee tours or minimum fee tours. Philip. Now, in fact, the total number of tourists has not dropped. But with the implementation of the tourism law, we saw a decrease in the number of mainland inbound tour groups. But then consider the number of visitors for the first 8 months of this year, including mainland tourists, we had a growth of over 10%. And for the National Day Golden Week, concerning mainland inbound tour groups, there was a significant drop in the number of such tour groups. But then during the National Day Golden Week, the number of individual travelers from the mainland increased.
On the whole, the number of tourist arrivals has increased. So to what extent has that increased? So in terms of the opportunities for the local tourism sector, I think the opportunities are still there. Of course, the tourism law, in my view, is to target the problem of coerced shopping under zero negative fee tours. And in the past few years, there have been a few incidents resulting from such tours. That's why we believe that in the long run, the tourism law will, for the mainland and Hong Kong, have a very positive impact. And it's also a very targeted initiative, so that for such undesirable business practices like coerced shopping with zero negative fee tours, those will be cracked down on. And I agree with members that we should not adopt a broad brush approach against these tours. We should deal with the problems as they arise, and we hope that it will be a more effective measure to target this problem. And we hope that the tourism sector will also upgrade themselves so that there can be more sightseeing tours without shopping itinerary. And as you can see, during the National Day Golden Week, in fact, the number of such tours has increased. I think that would also be good to our reputation, and the long-term development, I think, is good. And therefore, I hope that the tourism law will help us in the future. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Fernando Cheung, last one in the first round, and then in the second round, we have Yu Si Wing. Dr. Fernando Cheung. Thank you, Chairman. concerning the zero-fee tours and also coerced shopping and also undesirable business practices. Well, in the government's paper, well, it's about how the mainland tourism law is going to help reduce such incidents and also the impact on the local tourism sector. But then what can Hong Kong do in this respect? All right, you talk about training and so on. Apparently very little can be done about it. Well, this is happening in Hong Kong. It's not happening on the mainland, and yet you are relying on a piece of mainland legislation to help reduce such circumstances arising in Hong Kong. But then for Hong Kong tourist guide, Hong Kong shopping outlets and Hong Kong tourism industry, they are doing or engaging in such practices. So with regard to the regulation of travel agencies and also the licensing for tourist guides and also the mode of the business practices of certain shopping outlets, I think we have to do something about them so that both local visitors or mainland visitors or any visitor from all over the world would not be subject to such practices. So why isn't Hong Kong doing anything at all? Commissioner? Well, thank you, Chairman. I think the honourable members' views are very important. We cannot just rely on the tourism law on the mainland because it's only regulating travel agencies on the mainland, and for Hong Kong we must not relent our efforts in improving and upgrading our sector. I think there are three things that we've been doing. Number one, on coerced shopping, well, the TIC has got very clear guidelines. In the past few years, the TIC has been dealing with such malpractices, and quite a number of cases have also been dealt with by the TIC, and they've also dealt with such travel agencies very strictly. And other than relying on the TIC's own guidelines to regulate the Hong Kong travel agencies, well, the Trade Descriptions Ordinance, after its amendment, if there is any coercive practices, for example, false description or misrepresentation and so on, under the Trade Descriptions Ordinance is also against the law. So that would also help in dealing with travel agencies' undesirable business practices. And in the long run, as you are aware, we are actually planning to set up a statutory independent tourism authority so that the TIC and the tourism board can be merged to deal with issues arising from the tourism sector. We have already briefed members on previous occasions, and the preparation work is underway. So on the 3 points that I just set out, I hope that that could go to illustrate that we have been regulating our own sector too. Dr. Zhang? All right, with the strict action taken by the administration towards some travel agencies in Hong Kong, well, have any one of them had their licenses revoked, or have they been fined? So can you tell us more about those? And also, how many tourist guides have had their license revoked, suspended, or whatever? And also for shopping outlets and shops which have engaged in coerced shopping practices and so on, how many of them have been penalized? Do you have the figures? Yes, Joseph. Chairman, for travel agencies breaking the rules, well, a handful of them have had their membership revoked, and right away their licensing will also be affected. And some tourist guides, they have also had their tourist guides licenses being revoked or suspended. As for the shopping outlets, well, for the registered or designated shopping outlets, they must honor their pledge, and that would include 100% refund. So these shops will have to honor this pledge, that is 100% refund, explaining everything to the customers and so on. They've managed to honor their promised so far. And then for the registered shops, the visitors will be brought there by the travel agencies and will be monitoring closely their performance in terms of complaint figures. And the TIC will also be doing its best to ensure that those misbehaving tourist guides and also travel agencies, they would behave so that visitors will not be affected. Next, Mr. Yu Si-wing asking in the second round. Thank you, Chairman. The tourism law is not targeting Hong Kong. In fact, it's the tourism administration on the mainland trying to introduce this law in order to protect their own visitors. That's why, other than Hong Kong, in Southeast Asia, Taiwan, Thailand, which also offers such a zero or negative fee tours to cross-subsidize their tours with shopping, they will also be affected. I think we will have to look at the problems of the tourism law, and they will come up with initiatives to counter such impact. They are going to help their own tourism sector to counter the negative impact on the tourism law. I think in Hong Kong, we also need to do this. We also have to watch what they are doing. I think we have to be more proactive. Yes, it's been a short time since its implementation, but then we also have to collect the data from these places as to what the problems are and what measures have been taken by these authorities and sectors. All right, some practitioners will be affected, either tourist guides and other escorts and so on. So you need to do something to help them, in particular the tourist guides, because in the past they are very used to forcing the customers to buy. So very rarely would they be brushing up their skills, and therefore they have to upgrade themselves. And in the past, if you look at their wages, their pay would be very low. In some cases, they would receive no pay at all. So they would have no wage at all. So they will have to rely on the rebate or commission. So for the series of measures, I hope that the administration will take the opportunity to regularize them, so that at least you'll be able to protect the basic income of these practitioners. You might say that this is the consequence of what they have done in the past, and therefore they have no one else but themselves to blame. I think you will have to help them. You will have to afford them with some basic protection. Their basic interests should be protected. Yes, Commissioner, thank you for your comment. We will try our best to take a look to see what other places are doing to deal with the situation. We hope that overall speaking, the tourism law's impact could be understood. And also for the frontline practitioners and also the tourist guides, we have maintained regular contacts with them, so we will try to understand more from their experience. We will also encourage them to join more training courses so that they'll be able to upgrade themselves and scale new heights. So that's what we are going to do. So all in all, we'll be maintaining a close dialogue and cooperation with the sector, so that whether they are travel agencies, tourist guides, or tour escorts, they'll be able to play their roles more properly and effectively. Yes, Sin Chung Kai? All right. Good that we managed to wrap up before 12:30. As the former chair of the tourism board, I'm glad to see so many improvements, but then with the new law in place, initially everybody would be scared and they would be more careful, but then please don't be complacent, because the problem will continue, and somehow they might come up with initiatives or measures to counter the effect of the law. So we have to be more mindful of that. We have to be vigilant. Any business that you'd like to raise under AOB? All right, we have none. So date of next meeting will be informing members in due course. All right. So we'll be informing you in due course. In fact, we have not changed the schedule at all.